Good morning and welcome inside another edition of That's What I Think with Brandon Swanson. I'm your fearless host, Brandon Swanson, and we are just about a month away from the winter meetings, and we've got so much buzz going on right now, so many big names on the free agent market. Today I wanted to take a look at one of those names and where he might land, and it's none other than the biggest star out there, and that's Bryce Harper. The news that we heard not too long ago, just a couple of days ago, is that a 10-year, $300 million offer was rejected by Bryce Harper late in the season, coming from the Washington Nationals. So most likely, Bryce Harper is not going to be in a Nats uniform this next season or going forward. Let's first take a look at Bryce Harper. A great player. A 25-year-old player. He's young. He'll be around a long time. Bryce came into the league in 2012 at 19 years old. This guy is already an MVP, and he can get even better. His best season was in 2015 when he knocked out 42 home runs. He had an on-base percentage of .460. He had a slugging percentage of .642, I believe, and his OPS was just outstanding. Two things I want to point out, though. There's only been 2 seasons where he's hit 30 or more home runs, and only one time where he's driven in 100 or more RBIs, and that was this past year. I'm not saying that that should be a big knock against Bryce Harper. He's a great player. But is he the player that's going to be worth $300 or $400 million? Yeah. One team thinks so. Many teams think so. And that's why he's going to sign a contract that's worth that much. So Bryce Harper is going to make one team very lucky and very happy, and he's going to be a huge part of their success, I can tell you that. But I do just want to point those two things out, where a lot of times a guy who's getting a huge contract like that, he's a 25-plus home run a year guy. Harper's not there. ... yet. Another thing I want to take a look at is the market. So this past year, the market was slow. It was horrible. Ricky Widmer and I, we took a look at it in the offseason. We were trying to keep up with it, and my gosh, there were like weeks that went by where we felt, there's not much happening here. And then one day, all of a sudden, a big splash. We're like, okay, stuff is going to start to fall. No. Another couple of weeks, and then something finally happened. It took until February for J.D. Martinez to sign his big deal with the Boston Red Sox. 5 years, $110 million, and without him, the Boston Red Sox would not have gotten to where they did. They would not have won a World Series. I can tell you that. Scott Boras is the agent for Bryce Harper. He is okay with dragging it out. Perfect example, Max Scherzer. Boras is also his agent. 7 years, $210 million. Prince Fielder, 9 years, $214 million. Then Eric Hosmer this past year as well, 8 years, $144 million to the San Diego Padres. All 3 of those guys, January or February. That's when their deal was done. It wasn't at the winter meetings. It wasn't in December. It took a while. Will we be seeing that again this offseason with Bryce Harper? Remains to be seen. But it could. With Scott Boras, anything's possible. The first team I want to talk about is no stranger to the Washington Nationals, divisional rival, the Philadelphia Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies were on top of the National League East last year. 4 months. 4 months they were on top of the National League East. Couldn't win it. Ultimately, it was the Atlanta Braves out of left field. No one believed Atlanta would win it. No one believed Philly would win it. And almost everybody believed Washington would win it. So much so that this idiot picked them as his early World Series favorite. What a moron. What a moron. I learned. Won't do that again. But the Philadelphia Phillies. So, as most teams usually are, This offseason, they're looking for a middle-of-the-order hitter, a back-end reliever, and a starter. Name a team that's not looking for one of those. Most likely you'll be able to, but there's not many. Most teams, that's exactly what they're looking for. And everyone's always looking for pitching, especially in the bullpen. For Philly, one of the things with them is I really think that they're in a predicament, though. Because with Scott Boras being the agent for Bryce Harper, he will try and absolutely milk as much time and as many years and as much money as he possibly can. Why is that bad for Philly? Because do they trade Odubel Herrera? Do they trade Maikel Franco? Do they make those deals to possibly shore up a spot in the outfield for Bryce Harper, or even on the other side for a possible Manny Machado on the infield? So they're kind of in a predicament. If they do this, if they make those moves, make those trades, and I know that this one's kind of focusing on Bryce Harper, so we'll stick with Odubel Herrera, but if they make a move to trade him somewhere else, they most likely believe that Bryce Harper is going to be a Philadelphia Philly. What if it doesn't happen? What if they trade Herrera and no Bryce Harper comes to town? That's one of the problems, is that a team like the New York Yankees, they'll always be able to wait because it doesn't matter for them. They'll be able to pay the money. They don't even have to jump into the sweepstakes right away. They can come in at the end and say, we still have the money for you, and be able to do it. But I do think that the Philadelphia Phillies, they're a team that certainly is it's a spot that makes sense. They're a team, a young team coming together, making a run. They're a win-now team. And I think that that's what Bryce Harper's looking for. He's looking for a big payday. Don't get me wrong, as he should. But he's looking for a win-now team. I don't think he feels that way with Washington. Their win now, I believe Bryce Harper thinks, was the last couple of years. I don't think he wants to do it again with them. He wants to do it on a team that actually might be able to do it. And Philly was there last year for 4 months. They were on top of the East. 4 months. The Nationals, maybe 4 days. So the Philadelphia Phillies, certainly one of those teams that I think definitely will be a front runner for Bryce Harper all offseason. And I truly believe that. Now let's take a look at the next possible landing spot for Bryce Harper. And it could be the Windy City, Chicago. But not on the north side. They're friends to the south. Yes, the Chicago White Sox, who have not really done much since 2005, certainly not since 2008, have an interest and the ability to be able to sign Bryce Harper. They're also interested in Manny Machado and starting pitchers Patrick Corbin and J.A. Happ. There's a lot to really like about the White Sox having interest in all of these players, but specifically Bryce Harper. He'd be a young guy and a wonderful talent to come to the South Side. Exactly what they need at this time with a coming out of the rebuild transition, but still in it. The White Sox are moving towards a win-now type of thing. They're not a veteran-heavy team. That was them a couple of years ago. They're a team that is young, that is built on young talent, that is looking to bring in some solid studs to fill out the rest of the core for this team and make it a real contender. The White Sox are looking around their division. They're looking at the Cleveland Indians, who have been good for the last couple of years, but Cleveland's getting old. They are. It happens. The White Sox were there, and they've been there for a while, but the last couple of years, they've been younger, and they're going younger, and they're trying to be better. So they're seeing that they really could. If they could get 1-2 stars, they could really start competing. Like I said, you look at Cleveland, they won't be there forever. Are they ahead of the curve with Detroit? They're certainly ahead of the curve with Kansas City, who's going into their own rebuild right now. Then you look at Minnesota, that's kind of right there in the middle. They have some really good pieces, but they need to add a couple of more to make that jump, I think, to the next level to be able to be at the top of their division. But the Chicago White Sox, it makes sense. They were setting up either a couple of days ago or over the weekend, and they had something where number 34, Bryce Harper, Chicago White Sox. I mean, they're doing everything they can to try and draw him in without putting his name up on a billboard like everyone did for LeBron James. Just short of that were the Chicago White Sox, but it certainly makes sense. The White Sox are in a position where they could sign a $25, $30 million a year player. They could do that. They do not have a very big payroll right now. In fact, one of the smallest at this point in the offseason. Getting Bryce Harper could make sense. But here's where I do not know if the White Sox are willing to give that type of money that he's asking. The biggest deal in White Sox history was in 2013, where they gave a 6-year, $68 million deal to Jose Abreu. That's the biggest deal the White Sox have done. They're not used to an Alex Rodriguez type contract or a Giancarlo Stanton type contract. They haven't done that before. The thing with the White Sox is they have the willingness, they have the capability, they have the space. Are they ready? Are they ready to do something like that? Their fans are. They will certainly sell more tickets. I can tell you that. They're not selling many now. I can also tell you that I sit at a lot of the games and can go to almost any seat I want. Yes, if White Sox ticket officials are listening, I do that, okay? So does everyone, so, sue me. But I really think that the White Sox, it makes sense. I think that they could sign one, maybe two of these big-name players, whether it's Harper and Machado, whether it's Machado and one of the pitchers, Harper and one of the pitchers. They can do it. They'll be aggressive. Rick Hahn's been really good. He knows what to do. He's taken this team this far. He's going to keep going, but let me also tell you, if the White Sox don't make that big splash, which I find that unlikely that they wouldn't, many White Sox fans walk around saying 2020, 2020. And that's what Rick Hahn, I think, is ultimately working for, to be very competitive by 2020. And he's working up to it. If you don't do it in this offseason or don't feel like you've done it all this offseason, you have the trade deadline, then you have one more offseason next year, and then you'll be putting yourself, hopefully, in a really good position. Now I just want to take a look at a couple of other teams that I think could be in the mix, just really quickly run by them. The Los Angeles Dodgers, that's a team that has been the World Series champ runner-up the last 2 years. It seems to make sense that they would want to go after a name like Bryce Harper, and that they're making a run to try and go after a big-name free agent. Bryce Harper, the way he plays, his attitude, it screams Hollywood. Hollywood is somewhere he would fit in extremely well. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers will make a run there. Also, the other team in California, the Angels, it might be just grasping at straws here for the Angels, but they may try and make a run as well because they want to try and win before Mike Trout becomes a free agent and possibly leaves Anaheim. And then finally, I know a lot of people will not agree, but do not tell me that the New York Yankees will not at least have some interest in how they could get a guy like Bryce Harper to their team. The Yankees will always be that team that if there's a big-name player, they're never out. They're never out, and they will wait till the very end. Scott Boras is all about teams like the Yankees because he can wait it out and wait it out and wait it out. And at the end, the Yankees will throw as much money and as many years as they possibly need to make sure that they win the big sweepstakes. And that sweepstakes would be Bryce Harper. And that's what I think this week, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming in here. I know it is a football NFL Sunday, but had to talk a little bit of baseball. Had to talk a little bit of baseball and the sweepstakes that will be Bryce Harper. Manny Machado's in there, Patrick Corbin is in there, J.A. Happ, there's a number of other players, Dallas Keuchel, Adam Jones, there's a ton. It's really going to be a fun free agency, and it's going to be some big names going to a number of different places. Some teams could really turn themselves around after this offseason. I'm looking forward to it. I also want to make just one more thing on a somber note. Let's throw a little bit more love around. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of bad. There's a lot of negative. Hug your loved ones. Kiss your loved ones. Tell your family and your friends that they mean a lot to you. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we know that we could leave and never see them again. And we need to just take a step back. And there's a lot of things that we could be upset about, but we don't necessarily have to be. Let's worry about the things that matter, and let's just be a little bit more kind. One kind act a day, honestly, it could change your life, it could change someone else's, and that's what we need. We have too much violence and evil in this world, and let's not be part of it. Let's not contribute to it. Let's be better. Let's go higher and make the world a better place and a safer place. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy the NFL. I will. I'll be at the Bears game, rooting them on. So long.